So this is
I am
Cody,
Cody from Foxhole,
Yeah,
and I do not listen to
Well, I
them.
talked over it.
There you go.
I talked over it. I don't have
Well, that's
isolated
perfect. That's
tracks.
exactly how this show goes.
God,
It is.
You do it again.
Oh man, dude, Josh Johnson, that comedian I like, the Daily Show correspondent, was on The Beat with Ari Melber a couple days ago.
Ari Melbourne. I remember.
Hell yeah. I do love your Phil Collins.
I remember, feel you coming in the air tonight. That's it.
Coming.
Oh yeah. You ever seen that video of the deer getting stuck in like a kid's jungle gym and like tripping down the steps, and it sounds like the drum beat to that?
I have. Yes. Yes. It's fantastic.
God, I hope that doesn't get lost in the next generation. Like I know that I believe Thrash is aware of it, which gives me hope, but he's an old soul.
Yes.
I really hope that doesn't get lost. Like that is such a timeless. Like
It is.
You were
It is. But I fear it will be lost. I don't know. I don't have faith.
Right. What were you say about Ari Melbourne?
Oh, so Josh Johnson was on Ari Melber. It was weird because it was like worlds colliding. I saw him. I look up and he's at the desk with Ari Melber, and I'm like, what? How did this happen?
Oh yeah, like the Daily Show and Ari Melber colliding. Is that what you're saying? And him being a comic, or
well, I've never seen him on the news before. Like that was the first time.
You don't consider the Daily Show the news, Alan? I think a large percent of America in your neck of the woods considers that the nightly news.
I mean, it used to be. I don't know if it still is, but when Jon Stewart was there, for sure.
Yeah. And then they put.
I mean, he still is one day a week.
What? Oh, what did I say? Hey, I forget the guy's name, but who's the? This will follow up well from the last joke I made, but who is the like sort of portly black correspondent that was like a sometimes host? I thought he should have been their permanent host. What? You forget his name too, right? I thought he should have been the new.
He was really funny. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah, and he's like host material too, right? Like
he's got the riz. Yeah.
He's got the chops and the riz.
For sure. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions backed up here, just in case one isn't that good. At least we'll make up for it in quantity, which has a quality all of its own, as Stalin taught us. Do you ever get 1991's The Fisher King and 1991's The Prince of Tide confused?
Oh. The Fisher King,
Prince of Tide and Fisher King, like they both are like nautical or like, fishing. Tides and
the Fisher King was Lawrence Fishburne, right? It was
don't
Morpheus.
Think so. There's no way that you cast a Fishburne as the Fisher King. No,
it was Morpheus, wasn't it? I don't know.
Don't think so. No.
Okay,
you look that up.
Okay.
No. The Fisher King is you dummy. I don't even know what you're thinking of. Fisher King was Richard Gere with the hamster in his butt. He like falls in love with the therapist of his something.
Robin Williams is in it.
Robin Williams is in The Prince of Tides. Oh, wait, did I just get it confused?
You got it confused. Yeah.
God damn it. I'll never get this fucking Then The Fisher King is Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams.
Yes.
And Jeff Bridges. Like a surrealist type movie. And Prince of Tides is like a romantic movie, not a comedy. No, I was going to say
it's a rom not com.
Rom. It's a rom.
Rom. The Prince of Tides.
So I guess the answer is yes. You get them confused, and you get them confused with Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Trying to think of what like late 80s, early 90s.
I don't even know what I was thinking of.
Lawrence Fishburne was Coltrane in Fast Times, right?
I think so. I'm thinking.
No, wait, hold on. Is it another?
What was the movie? Wasn't he like a chess player or something?
Are you thinking of? You're the Man Now, Dog? That's Forrest Whitaker. You thinking of Forrest Whitaker?
I might.
You're the Man Now, Dog, the movie? Okay.
I am terrible with remembering actors' names and who they
This is fine because you're an ambiguous shade of brown, so this is all not racist, even though it sounds really, really racist.
Yes.
Us being friends gives me some sort of a pass, I believe. I've been told.
Yeah.
Not by anybody who can hand out passes, but I've been told. You know what? Just not being keeping it as they say, racist, but not no. Keeping
do
it
that.
racial, but not
Racial.
racist.
Yeah.
No, keeping it racial, but not racist. Do you think that? So, remember when Joe Biden was picking his vice president, he says, "I'm going to pick a woman of color," and we're like, "Well, it's not Tulsi Gabbard," and that's the only other now former Democrat on the ticket. So we all knew it was going to be Kamala Harris. Do you think that? And then when he stepped down, there was a kind of a narrative in place that fit that very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
The historic narrative, things like that. I know I told you to move your camera. Can you move it back slightly? It's bothering me. Oh no, the other way. The other way. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Leave it. Oh, that's too much, but we'll live with it. I've already interrupted enough. There you go. So Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris to be his vice president.
Yes.
And then when he decides that he has COVID and he can't be president anymore, or whatever he decided back in July.
He decided not to run, not that he couldn't be president anymore. Yeah.
Well, it was because he had COVID, though, right? He's like, I can't run. I can't hold my breath. It's COVID. It's got me. I can't be president anymore. It's the vid. He said, well, I fully endorse my vice president. If he would have just picked like an average white male, do you think he would have just resigned and let that person be president for the next 3 months and let them run? I think, or do you think that he chose not to resign because he didn't want that to be the first time a woman or a black woman became president?
Oh, that's interesting. So he wanted it to be at the ballot box as opposed to just by
Well,
dint.
it just wasn't racist. It was racial.
By dint of
It's so hard for me to not come across racist. This is racial. It's totally different. All right. Do you have a deep thought response to that, or should I just play this fucking
Just play
sound?
the
to start
sound. Play the sound.
Play the fucking sound.
Play the fucking sound.
What's the weirdest thing about conservatives?
They don't like fucking culture.
I think he said cock and ball torture. We got a little bit more. I realize it's beeped, and so I have to clarify that.
Can you go more in depth on what you mean?
Well, like, you see all these conservative preachers and whatnot, they're really against BDSM and whatnot. And they just need to be more open-minded. Because BDSM is fun. Culture is fun. They should enjoy it like the rest of us. They should be normal. They're not normal.
You think that's normal?
That's very normal.
Okay.
Y'all let me in this damn house.
Should we hit record?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
I can't even remember if there's more to that.
All right, you ready?
I am ready. Are you recording?
Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken.
To the Friday Headlines Roundup edition of None Taken, where every week my good friend Alan wrangles up the headlines from all over the internet and we talk them at you. Because I listen to 13 hours of podcasts a day and Alan watches 3 hours of cable news, so you don't have to. And now, get ready, take a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers. But first, as is tradition, it's Friday.
So, another Friday is upon us. What'll you be doing, Smithers? Something gay, no doubt. What? You know, light-hearted, fancy-free. Mothers, lock up your daughters. Smithers is on the town.
Exactly, sir.
Exactly, sir. Head on over to nonetakenpod.com if you have a spare pittance. Give us your banana money. Bless yourselves. I liked it when I said that. Bless your life. Bless your life. For the low, low price of $3 a month, you could be a part of the inner sanctum. Actually, Inner Sanctum is much higher. It's $9 a month. And if you're the holiest, if you want to be in the Cardinal, the College of Cardinals, people select popes. Do you know what the most common pope name is? I just learned this today.
John Paul.
Gregory. No, you think John Paul because John Paul II followed up the first John Paul. So there was John Paul, and then he was just like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll keep it going. I'm John Paul II. It's like, we just had a John Paul. No, Gregory's the most common. So that just means in like the hundreds of years of popes, there's just this like common thread of like, you know what? We haven't dusted off a Gregory, and they were never consecutive. They're like, just Greg is such a great name. We just need to bring. We have a listener that prefers not to have their name included, which is more than one, but not enough to be that discreet with my hint there. With the Pope's name, we'll say most common Pope's name. Yeah, it's so weird that Greg is it. But yeah, if you'd like to be in the College of Cardinals, that's the $18 tier where we send you a shirt that says, "We say cunt in this house."
No, it says Cultural War Veteran.
What? Oh man, I'm on my third whiskey. Yeah, you guys should have listened to the hidden track. That's another thing you get if you join the Patreon. So if you join at $3 a month, you get access to everything. It's the same thing at any level. It just shows us how much you want to be a contributor to the show. We don't twist any arms over here. So if you join at $3, you get access to the videos of everything we've ever done. You also get the hidden track that's only available on there. Today's hidden track was just a mini version of our big Wednesday show.
It was a banger today. That was a hell of a hidden track. Yeah.
There was a lot of, we'll go with tragic personal life and perhaps oversharing. I definitely, not perhaps, there was some good content. Slang intent over there on the hidden track.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what you get over at nonetakenpod.com. You go to nonetakenpod to do that. Alan, can you do some more talking about the Nonetaken Pod?
Of course. All right, so nonetakenpod.com. Everything you need Nontaken is over there. You got our Patreon, as Dustin already said. Gets you exclusive access to our hidden tracks and other stuff. Also, our merch store is over there. Holidays are coming up. You know, you want a nice Alan's Edging Service hoodie. You want a We Say Cunt in This House mug. It's right there. Nonetakenpod.com.
Culture War Veteran shirt. You don't want to spend $18 a month. You just want to buy it once. You know.
You can just buy it once. Yeah.
Why buy the shirt when you could do it every month for less? But that doesn't add up. Anyway, go on, Alan.
Also, there's a link at the bottom of the page. Don't forget, support the people that support us. SlickestDigital.com for all your SEO and marketing needs. SlickestDigital.com.
Hell yeah.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Happy Friday. The weekend is here. Have a can of fucking beer.
Whiskey.
Or whiskey. We made it to another weekend, y'all. So hope you all had a great week and are going to have a great weekend. We got some headlines to talk at you. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, Alan's up.
All right. Microsoft published a new report about efforts by Iran, Russia, and China to influence the U.S. election through online campaigns that impact public perceptions. So we are less than 2 weeks away from
13 days at the time of this recording.
Yeah, when you hear, I guess it'll be 12.
12 days. It'll be 11 when you hear it.
Oh,
Jesus.
11.
It's coming up fast.
Yeah, it is.
Remember the 5th of November.
Always remember the 5th of November.
Gunpowder, treason, and plot.
So Microsoft unveiled this report saying that they're seeing these disinformation campaigns happening by multiple countries. Russia kind of expected, Iran kind of expected.
Did they elaborate on it? Oh, sorry. Russia, you expect it from China's on the list.
China is on the list, which I don't know. I haven't seen much of that previously, but that they're doing, what was it? Even maligning down ballot Republicans who are critical of China. So not even the presidential election.
That's what they've been doing with their honeypots for years and their students.
And what they're saying is that it's probably going to get worse as we get closer to the election. A couple weeks to go, that we're probably going to see even more of these disinformation campaigns. I mean, from the Russian side, it's mostly just they don't really. It seems like cares who wins. They just want
to make us hate each other.
Yes, yeah,
and not trust, not trust what we believe, what we read, not be able to believe what we see. Right. Like that Atlantic article came out where that Goldstein guy said the $60,000 to bury a Mexican. Jesus, and like you read that article and you go, well, it's the Atlantic that is largely funded by I think either Bill Gates or Bezos' ex-wife. I think owns it. So huge Democratic donor. The Atlantic clearly has a Democratic base, and he's not the most reputable reporter. And you're like, well, this is a weird thing to say 4 years later and right before the election. And then you couple that with the knowledge that like the family itself said that no, he paid for it. I hate that this got politicized. It's like, yeah, this is something that he said to someone behind your back. Right. So you start like playing all that in your head and you're like, you know what? I don't even know what to believe. That's what Russia wants. Right. And I'm not saying Russia posted that in the Atlantic, but the ecosystem where we start to question everything to that extent. Like my response to that thought process is, you're a smart person. If you're an educator, like I'm talking to our listeners, like our listeners are pretty informed.
Yeah.
You can trust your judgment and just make a decision, and you need to just make a decision and live with that and not say, I don't believe anything. Both parties are bad, blah, 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 because that's what Russia would prefer the most.
Yes, although in the article they do say that the report adds to previous findings and U.S. intelligence that suggests the Kremlin is committed to lambasting Harris's character online, which is interesting. Russian actors have spent months churning out both AI-generated content and more rudimentary spoofs and staged videos spreading disinformation about Harris, Microsoft's analysts found.
I don't think those have been very successful.
I don't think so either. Actually,
I have a whole segment where I like playing clips of both parties looking bad, and I just have the same old videos or new versions of the same old thing with her. I don't have of course, I also don't play bullshit on the show if I can avoid it. So
sure, yeah. Actually, a lot of these like bots that are very clearly like sponsored by government actors are not that successful. They don't get a lot of followers or likes that are real. So
not like bots that are shadow accounts of Elon Musk. There's like that account of a penny on Twitter that it's one of Musk's shadow accounts, and he used it as an example of their monetizing success.
I didn't see that. That's funny though. That's not surprising. All right, shall we hit the next one here?
They've lost so much money. They've been like they're fucking with their monetizing now too. They're saying like we're not going to pay off. We're going to pay off quality content and stuff like that, which is fine. Like they need to pay less because they've lost I think they lost 90% of their revenue last year.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So on my phone for whatever reason it logged me out. I can't even get into Twitter, and I said fuck it. But on my laptop for whatever reason it still has me logged in, so I can see Twitter on my laptop, but I never go there.
When you do show prep and stuff.
Yeah.
Can you believe we do show prep, guys?
That whole turn? Billy Wayne Davis interview was entirely based on his Twitter feed, pretty much.
That's a good. Yes,
it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah. The G7 announced. Oh wait! I have a follow up to the Iran part of that story.
Okay. Yes.
So Iran clearly wants to kill one of the two candidates right now.
Yeah.
Like they've stated that.
Yeah.
And what would happen if Iran killed Donald Trump?
Then J.D. Vance.
Biden said that he would. That would spark a war.
That's
with
a red
Iran,
line,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that you should succumb to blackmail, but maybe don't make that person be the president for the next 4 years. Like if one of these two candidates is via their, wishful assassination attempt of Iran going to cause the World War III that Trump's always talking about and pretending we're not already in it. Fucking North Korea is fighting in Ukraine. We're in World War III. But if you'd like to avoid that entirely, don't maybe put that person in the position of being there. Anyways, the G7 announced a $50 billion loan package to Ukraine to be repaid over time, like they'll have money, using interest generated from $260 billion. Oh my God. So they gave Ukraine $50 billion as a loan.
Yes. And
they gave them that $50 billion. That $50 billion was generated from interest off the $260 billion in frozen Russian central bank assets.
It will be. So there's not enough interest to pay that now.
They're anticipating that.
Yes.
Even.
They gave him a payday loan, so to speak.
I'm not going to lie. This is fucking reckless. Just the fiscal format is reckless.
So the U.S., I think, was $30 billion of it, and the rest was from Europe. But yeah, so they want them to use this primarily for drones that they can use to attack in Russia.
I think it's in the other news. We might as well talk about it here. Did you see the one I put in there about 80? Do you want to just talk about it here?
Sure. Let me go.
U.S. is going to give Ukraine millions. I think was it 800 million? It's a big number of millions. So I remember like a couple of weeks ago, I think we played a Peter Zion clip where he was talking about long-range drones that have like a larger payload and can strike deeper into Russia, hit their fuel depots and things like that. So we're giving them money now. Money. So now it's
Money
no
me,
longer
money now.
me a money now, please. So we're not doing the whole like, hey, this is a weapons drawdown.
Me a money needing a lot now.
And instead of just giving them weapons drawdown weapons, and then replacing it by, pumping more money into our military industrial complex, we're actually giving them money directly
Just to buy stuff.
build.
Yeah.
Well, to
So
build
we're giving
their
them
drone manufacturing base.
$800 million in military aid will go towards manufacturing long-range drones to use against Russian troops. And so, yeah, there's been this whole private enterprise that has sprung up because of this Ukrainian war, and they literally can produce more of this stuff, but they just need money to like get the components so they can build them. And so that's what this is supposed to do, because they have the industry. So they've built up the industry to do this, but they don't have all the stuff they need to be able to build these things. So that money, that's what that money is for, $800 million to help them do that. And drones have been remarkably effective in this war from the Ukrainian side. Well, from both sides, really. But
They'll be remarkably effective as this next world war continues. I mean, it's the platform, right?
yeah, it's been
Which reminds me of the story of the Chinese drones, likely Chinese drones that have been flying in swarms over Langley and that whole area. I'm sure you know about that, right?
I believe I've heard of that. Yes,
It's not in the headlines, right?
it's not in the headlines. No.
So over the last year and a half, there's been coordinated drone swarms in formation going over Langley, and there's a big military port in that area, and they're so small that they are almost undetectable until they're detected. Forgive me. And then there's a lot of protocols about shooting down drones that you can't do over civilian areas because you don't know what they're going to fall on. And then you can't just fire those interceptor electronic warfare things because that projects out and that could hit a flying plane going by and confuse actual air traffic. So they've just let them do it. And then finally, one of the drones got stuck in a tree, and then they were able to retrieve it and find out whose it was. And in the meantime, that person caught a plane from Virginia to California and then was boarding a flight to China, and was like, "Oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that."
Oh, I didn't know all those details. It's like the new version of weather balloons. It's the whole.
It is. It is. So,
thing.
yeah, I mean, I say that in response to you talking about drone technology, which
For sure. Yeah. All right.
yours.
Turkey said 5 people were killed and at least 22 injured in an attack on a state-run aerospace facility near its capital. Turkish forces subsequently struck sites in Iraq and Syria linked to Kurdish militants, and that it said were most likely involved in the attack. So the PKK.
These Turks don't like the Kurds.
Yeah, they don't. But they're also the Kurds are being dicks too, so there's reasons for that. But Thrash actually sent me
How
this.
dare you say that about our partner force? Huh?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Thrash actually sent me an article about this, and it did show up in the headlines. Anyways, otherwise I would have put it in. But so this was an aerospace company. 4 people that were killed were from working for that company. One was a cab driver that was killed. PKK, I don't think has admitted responsibility for it yet, but it's pretty obvious that it was the PKK. And
is the other one the YPK, or I get these P's and K's confused.
The PKK is the main one. I think there is a Y one as well, but the PKK is the main one. They're banned as a terrorist organization in Turkey, the US, and the UK, and for good reason. Some of the pictures and videos are pretty disturbing.
This was a facility where they modify or finish F-16s.
Yes. Yeah, I think they, if they don't manufacture them, they do some sort of finishing of them. Yes.
This is why Turkey's not getting F-35s, and rightfully so.
Probably, yeah. Strangely, well, maybe not strangely, Turkish authorities have imposed a media blackout on details of the attack. Users in large areas of the country have reported not being able to use social media sites like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X in that area. So kind of shady and dark. But yeah,
So we haven't gotten on the ground updates other than from sources.
Yes, government sources, essentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll still be developing, but it'll probably fall off the radar. It doesn't sound like the type of story that has legs.
It will fall off the radar,
It's like an
100%.
important story. I'm glad it's in our show. But
Yeah.
okay. Move on. You okay with that?
Yeah.
The BRICS summit kicked off in Russia for 3 days of meetings and a showcase of the growing alliance. I believe today would have been the third day, or today's the second day. With countries including Brazil, India, China, South Africa. That's right, BRICS. Of Russia. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's the BRICS part. With newly added countries, Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, and the UAE.
This is being
Any
hosted.
BRICS bucks come out of this? They put any BRICS bucks out?
They did post. I saw a mock-up of what a BRICS book might look like.
Are people going to take that and demand all their BRICS bucks be cashed into gold and get the fuck out of the country that they live in? Like, there is an arbitrage opportunity as soon as this shit goes.
That's true. That's true. It's very bizarre because on the paper, like a lot of these countries don't have a lot in common. But Russia is attempting. Putin really is attempting to sell this thing as like this is the new opposition to the rest of the Western world, right? And making it seem like he's still legitimate. Russia's still legitimate, regardless of them being, pretty much universally scorned on the world stage.
The argument is all of these countries have seen some sort of American sanctions. Maybe not India.
I don't think.
And if you take people off of the market, they find a black market to go to.
The Saudis surprised me a little bit that they would be, because
Saudis don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah, they don't. They really don't. I guess
they're already off petrodollar.
Yeah. They're trying to create an alternative to the SWIFT banking process, which is how countries move money across
electronic transactions.
Yeah, which we booted Russia from after they invaded Ukraine.
Immediately after Ukraine, yeah.
Right. So they're trying to perhaps create an alternative to that. I don't think the currency is ever going to get off the ground. I don't think that's going to be a real thing.
It's not a good idea.
It's
Economically, it's a bad idea. Yeah.
Especially with those countries.
I want them to do it. I want them to do it. So
get some popcorn and just watch it happen.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Like Trump on Rogan.
Right. But I think what mostly, at least for Putin, is just about him trying to legitimize his place on the world stage and say, I'm not a pariah. And it's kind of working.
It's weird to do that and at the same time be desperate for soldiers that you're pulling them out of North Korea.
That is.
I feel like North Korea is winning on that. Do you have a thing about that? We'll wait till we get to that. There's the thing there. Okay. Your turn.
Okay. Let's see. India and China agreed. Oh, this is about the line of control. I mentioned this on the show last.
You said we talked
Wednesday
about it
show.
on the big one.
Yeah,
you foreshadowed 2 days ago about this.
I did. India and China agreed to a patrolling deal along their disputed Himalayan border, seeking to de-escalate tensions following deadly clashes in 2020. So this is the line of control that was talked about in that
line of actual control
that was talked about in that book we both read, Termination Shock. Which honestly, before I read that book, I wasn't really aware of what was happening there.
I knew about it, but I didn't know it was
as wild.
Extreme as, yeah.
So both countries had agreed to not use weapons like guns in this dispute.
But all that did was lead to an escalation of non-projectile violence.
Yeah. So there were just people beating each other to death with sticks and using drones and shit like that. So they've come to an agreement. They're going to have a joint police force, I guess, to patrol this border. It's still not. It's still a disputed border, like what's our territory and what's yours. They still haven't figured that out. But at least they are de-escalating the tensions, and they're going to patrol the border, with a united force. So that's what's happening there.
Okay. I have no optimism about that. I suppose it's a good thing, but I kind of like it when India and China fight. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm a little bummed they worked this out. Like, I liked it.
It's so strange how under the radar that whole thing was, though, for so many years.
Yeah, nobody talks about that, right?
Nobody talks about that at all.
Nobody and like this isn't happening at like the U.S. Mexico border. This is happening at the top of the Himalayas.
Yeah,
like you if you don't know where that border is, go look at a map really quick. Like that's higher than any point in America. Like this is several miles above sea level. People are
they
doing
literally they're people that get like altitude sickness from being up there, and like there's less oxygen and stuff, and people like pass out from that shit.
I've been banging on these. Wow. Hold on. Let me get a soundbite ready that Alan said once so that I could say this right. I've been beating on these with PVC pipes for way too long. I'm about to pass out. Man, it turns out those can fight.
Yeah. If you look at this geography on a map, it's not all that surprising, I guess, that there's disputed territory here.
Really? Like, I need this mountain peak. Fuck you. I need that valley over there.
It's sort of, I mean, in those sort of hinterlands, people don't really necessarily.
You're saying, like, who cares where a border is and we can fight over it?
People that live there or occupy the, which I don't think there's a lot of people who actually live there, but that they don't give a fuck. They're trying to survive, right? So they don't care. They don't need passports. They're just trying to, eke out a living. It's similar like on the very far end of Russia, where people don't even necessarily care about what's happening in the rest of Russia. They're just out there trying to survive.
That's where they take their conscripts from.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
All right.
Israel said it killed Hashim Safedin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
A top Hezbollah official and presumed successor to Nasrallah in an airstrike earlier this month. So I thought you told me that they stopped naming their leaders.
That was Hamas, I think, but yeah. So he hadn't been named.
Right.
This is Hezbollah. Yeah. So that he hadn't been named officially.
You don't see that Hezbollah kid anymore.
You know what? You don't actually. Anyway, so he hadn't officially. He was
that was a curveball. A lot of times I know I hit you with some curveballs, and I'm like, "Come on, run with it." But that was one was like, "What do you say?" Right,
so
go on.
This guy was Nasrallah's cousin, and he had been stepping up and taking more and more of a leadership role. He had been attending events that Nasrallah couldn't attend because he had a target on his back. So sort of presumed successor.
Okay.
And Israel took him.
He was the
out.
Tony Soprano to Junior.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
or he's the Christopher maybe to Tony. It's okay.
So yeah, they took him out as well. They seem to keep taking out these guys. The problem with these organizations is there's sort of you take out one. Yeah, exactly. You take out one guy, somebody else is going to step up, and he was never officially the leader, anyways.
It's like they learned nothing from us fighting.
Really does seem that way. Yeah.
Although, if you want to give Trump some credit, you can give him credit for the way he handled ISIS, and I think Israel is doing a lot of what Trump did with ISIS, and Trump got a lot of shit for that too. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I'm going to save us a sound clip of somebody else saying something similar, and I'll say it probably less eloquently, but we've been really fortunate to mostly live in a time of peace. Israel's at fucking war, and the people they're at war with hate us too. And I don't like seeing the worst of the way Israel's handling this, but having lived through the way the U.S. conducted the war on terror, I kind of don't give a shit if Israel does it for us. I don't like that it's our tax dollars, our military, supplementing them. But I'm done with us being over there. And if they want to do the real dirty work of rooting out terrorists in that region, they have a lot more skin in the game than we do. And if it takes a little bit of military supplementation, I still don't like it. But it's way better than the way I felt about the war on terror from 2003 to, 5 minutes ago.
I can understand where you're coming from there. I
appreciate you softening what I'm saying.
I don't like. I I very specifically don't like what's been going on in Gaza. I don't like that they're starving people out, not allowing humanitarian aid. I don't like.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Well,
Well, we talked about that in the hidden track. So, like, the starving them out where? Because, like, saying, hey, we're spending 3 weeks getting you out of this area so we can put a siege around this area seems like the best way to handle that.
No, but they're just just overall not allowing
food aid into Gaza in general. I agree. With.
Generally.
Yeah, okay.
Food, water, medicine, none of that's being allowed in. I don't like that.
We told them they have 30 days, which conveniently goes past our election.
I don't like that their leader, I don't like that Netanyahu very clearly has political motivations to continue this war, has no motivation to stop or have a ceasefire or go to the negotiating table. I hate that. I
Fully
don't
co-sign. Yes.
Yeah, I don't like that our
I say what I say, and I agree with everything you just said. I don't know what to make of this.
No, I think that both of us can be right. Yeah, that in that case. So there's it sucks, man. And I don't not going to pretend to have any solutions, but man, just all of the inputs to this this conflict are just seem intractable, right? It just feels like.
But it gets augmented by bad actors framing it in a way that just, like, everything you just said makes sense, but everything I said before that makes sense too. Like,
right.
What's your alternative? Like, these people are motivated to get rid of Israel. They're and like, so I get it. Like, people like to, I guess the opposite of how I feel is river to the sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just being like, fine, get rid of Israel. I don't want that either. And I don't want that mostly because I would like us to fucking keep some maps how they are and stop fucking with them. And right now, the people that are fucking with maps are China, Russia, and everyone that hates Israel. So, like, I would just, I think we can just have a world where, God damn it, those maps are so fucked up from the British and the French. But they've been that way since 48. And with some minor adjustments, mostly based off the last few times the Arab states decided to go to war with Israel. And maybe those maps are going to change again, but it's not because Israel was trying to.
Well, 67
except for the West Bank, 67, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said when people tried to go to war.
That was preemptory, though, because they knew that the Arab states were talking.
67 war wasn't preemptory by Israel. That was when Egypt and everybody said, that we could do this immediately. It'll be fun. It'll be easy.
What was the one where
Israel's like, now it's our land?
They had like
I
think the Arab states were meeting in Qatar or something like that, and they had like people embedded, or they had bugs or something, so they could hear what they were talking about, and they were like, oh, well, it's going to take you guys a month to get spun up and ready to attack us. It'll take us a week.
Israel preempted on it.
Yeah,
maybe that was 67, and I have my facts wrong. I don't know. I thought 67 was when everybody was like, let's just get rid of them, and like it was Israel,
because that's when they took the Golan Heights, right? And
Golan Heights, yeah. See, I think we're talking about two different things.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Let's move on. South Korea called for the removal of North Korean troops from Russia after its spy agency alleged 1,500 troops were sent to support Russia in Ukraine. Thrash brought this up, I think, on the last headline show.
That number keeps changing. It's 3,000. It's 1,000. This is the first time I've seen 1.5.
I've seen 3,000.
I've seen 10,000. I've seen 10,000.
So I think it's probably likely that they're continuing to send more, and so that number will probably continue to grow as we see more and more headlines about this. But it is very. You said World War III earlier. It is very bizarre to think of North Koreans dying
in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's just like trying to wrap your head around that is a very strange thing.
It has not happened. There have not been Asians fighting wars in Europe since World War II. Excuse me.
Yes, it's a little bit to wrap your head around for sure.
I think it's a good thing.
Why is it a good thing?
Well, for one, I don't think North Korea really wants to use up all their special forces in Ukraine. So I don't think North Korea is just going to give an unlimited supply of soldiers, right? Right. There's a lot of reasons to realize why that's not likely. I mean, one is just the defections alone. Those people are going to see what the outside world looks like. And
that's a good point.
you know, that is a country of people that are malnourished unless they are higher up in the military and the party platforms, right?
And
so
the
you have a
people
finite amount.
the people that are higher up are probably not being sent to the front lines in Ukraine.
Well, no, I think the people that are higher up in terms of like special forces in the military are, and that is a finite amount, right? So like you only have so many calories in the country to go around.
Yeah.
And those calories have been given to these people to beef them up and make them be the best fighting forces. Russia's said they've been impressed with the North Koreans that they've seen so far. And I'm not surprised. Those were the people that got to eat steak, right? Like, don't mean to laugh at it. But so in that regard, I think North Korea is playing. I mean, Kim played Donald Trump. He's going to play Putin. You know, he's going to do the whole I mean, they're getting something from this is what I'm saying, right? So they're going to get some aid. They're going to get a factory built. They're going to get something, right? And then Russia's going to say like, hey, you got any more soldiers? To be like, well, yeah, I'd have some more soldiers if we just could like make a couple more fields and grow some more crops, or maybe if we had more cattle, or I don't know, whatever, right? So they're going to continue to get more and more from Russia. And I don't think they're going to have the resources to supply them. Like they don't have an infinite supply. And at some point they'll be out of it too. So like when we do finally go to actual World War III, there'll be less North Koreans to fight against in that regard too. And the ones that'll be left won't be the most elites. That's one way that I think this is a good thing. The other way I think it's a good thing is South Korea exists. South Korea has a very strong spy network, or you know, they're technology strong, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to send observers and interrogators to Ukraine, not to actually take part in the war, but to see what it's like when Ukraine fights a war. Excuse me, when North Korea fights a war. So South Korea and North Korea haven't fought since MASH, right? So they actually can see what North Korea's fighting forces are like, take notes, and be present to interrogate them when they become captured and have an understanding of their military structure. I think this gives a lot of really good news to the West, South Korea, pretty much anybody other than Russia, other than 10,000 troops that are going to be used in some limited capacity because of language. They will be able to function as a military unit, but only as a unit given directions by some translator from an upper level to another upper level that tells that unit what to go do. That unit will probably go in as like a supplemental force to let Russians rest, but they're not be fighting on side with Russia. You can't integrate that with that kind of a language barrier unless they truly only have conscripts from that part of Russia where they do overlap with Korean language, but that's a little too niche. Do you follow me?
I do. I was just, my mind went in a lot of different directions. So
probably weren't thinking this doesn't sound like good news. I don't know why you said good. In all those ways, I think that's good for the rest of the world in conflict. If we're in conflict, this is good news.
I was thinking about like why Hitler wanted Ukraine, because it's the breadbasket, right? And so the production of food was a big deal. And so if you think about what might motivate the North Koreans, they have a hard time feeding their people, and perhaps Russia's promised them something there as well. North Korea's already given them munitions, artillery shells, things like that. So this is just the next step in that military aid.
And now we got North Korea and Russia and South Korea fighting each other in a proxy. This is a global proxy war.
Yeah, it's just the joker in this deck is that North Korea is a nuclear power, right? That's the
right. And when they run out of troops, they can just start firing off shit into Seoul and Japan. Then it gets real spicy, real fast.
They blew up like railways.
They blew up a bunch of roads in North Korea. Yeah.
Which is
fuck you, South Korea. Look what we did to our own roads.
It's just Kim Jong-un throwing a temper tantrum, but I don't know. I wouldn't. I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't necessarily characterize this as a good thing by any means. All right, Cuba is facing a fourth day of nearly nationwide power outages following the failure of its main power plant, leaving about 10 million people without electricity as Hurricane Oscar hit the island's eastern coast. So they've been doing rolling blackouts, I think, since sort of trying to have power on for a while here and then moving into the next place as they try to spread the capacity that they have remaining. But that storm hit them pretty hard, and their infrastructure.
What's the storm name?
Oscar.
Do you think it has a last name? It's Hispanic. It hit Cuba.
Oh yeah, like
Santana.
Oscars.
Oscar Santana.
You can do a collab.
We have
with,
some overlap. Two people get that.
yeah, with Rob.
Yeah, a lot of my friends have been to Cuba, and they were talking about like how bad this must be, and
yeah.
It sucks. Don't they have like a lung cancer vaccine in Cuba they came up with? Did you hear about this? You heard about this? I think Bob Foster sent that in the group text. Why am I giving first and last names on the podcast now?
I don't think I do know about this. No.
Yeah, they have a lung cancer vaccine, but it's I guess they haven't shared it to the rest of the proletariat, Alan. Just the Cuban proletariat. I don't know.
I mean, that should be
it's
part of their ethos. They're supposed to share it.
I'm probably misrepresenting them. They're commies, Alan. I don't like being nice. Yeah, it does suck though. So rolling blackouts, power outages, people, I mean, it's not like they're freezing, right? Like it's
a tropical country. Yeah.
There's other problems without power though. So no water, I'm sure. Not drinkable water. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have good follow up on that. I definitely feel bad, dude. When I flew to Costa Rica, we flew over Cuba, and it just looked amazing from the air. Like, first of all, from the plane, you can like see across it, so you're like flying over it, and it just, I don't know. It looks awesome from the plane. I'd love to have been there.
It's funny. I knew somebody that went there
I'm
as
not
well.
a soulless person. I don't want to come across that way.
Yeah, I know somebody that went there as well, and he told me about it, and it sounded really cool. And so then I was talking to another friend of mine who was from Colombia, and I was like, yeah, this dude just went. He said it was really cool. I think it'd be fun. And she was like super offended by the fact that I would even consider going there. She was like, do you understand what that place is? And I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. Maybe, yeah, I understand.
These Latin Americans that come to America, it's like they go two paths, right? Like radical lefties or just, I wish we could have kept the normalization of relations with them. I do resent that Trump took that away. I felt like that wasn't going to hurt us, and it only hurt them. And obviously hurting them to get them to change their ways hasn't worked. It's been 60 years. So
I was going to say it's been over 50 years, but yeah, it's been 60. Yeah.
Can I nitpick your camera again?
Sure.
Can you move it to your right slightly? I wish I never told you to move it.
That way?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yep, we're good.
Right.
Ex-Abercrombie CEO Mike Jeffries was arrested on charges tied to allegedly operating a sex trafficking ring that targeted would-be male models. Why male models? We've talked about this. This was like I know we talked about this because I said Abercrombie. I was drunk like I am right now. I made the why male models joke, and then you told me no, this is serious. There's a bunch of sexual abuse. Stop making jokes. So I'm being somber, so somber. But why is this news again?
Because of the indictment. So what had come out before was just like
allegations,
like a news story. I can't remember where it was, but it was essentially a news story alleging all of this. And now there's been an indictment. Him and his partner are both indicted in this. And apparently, so he was promising. He was promising potential modeling jobs for young men as young as 19, flying them across the country to various places, or even the world, actually, and then forcing them to commit sexual acts they didn't want to do.
Lighthearted, fancy-free.
Yeah, very not lighthearted and fancy-free.
Oh, like the back of a Volkswagen?
Very uncomfortable place.
Exactly, sir.
All three defendants face a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison if convicted of sex trafficking, and the potential for a life sentence as well.
It sounds like the rest of their life at 15 years. I doubt this is like a 40-year-old CEO, right?
No, these guys are in their like 70s, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
But just a really gross story. It's like you see these people in power, like you see what Diddy did in, Weinstein and these people. It's just gross, man. I don't know how else to say it.
will you agree with me that this story does not surprise you?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, like when you walk by the mall and it smells like Abercrombie before you get there, and there's the abbed up like black and white pictures of dudes. You're like, if I would have known back then what I know now, it would have been like, there's something shady going on with this company, right? Like,
I mean, it felt pretty obvious even then, right? It felt like there's something off here. I think people even talked about it at that point.
Yeah.
It's gross, man.
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Do you?
Chinese food makes me sick. You remember this song? I think it's fly when you tell her for the summer. That's a niche song that's not worth remembering. Your turn, Justice Department.
The Justice Department indicted Indian government employee Vikash Yadav over an alleged plot to murder a U.S. citizen Sikh separatist in New York City. So this is coming on the heels of what's been happening in Canada.
Wait, Alan, I found it. Bloody fuck you, bloody! Okay, I'm sorry.
This is coming on the heels of what's happened in Canada, where they've expelled diplomats who were apparently involved in an assassination plot there of a Sikh Canadian citizen.
So they're doing this in the U.S. and they indicted an Indian government employee in the U.S.
Yes, who was allegedly plotting to murder similarly a Sikh
U.S. citizen.
Yeah, U.S. citizen separatist in New York. This story just completely. I have not heard this anywhere else. I don't see it on the news. I don't hear anybody talking about it.
Yeah.
And it fucking blows my mind that, I mean, Modi is definitely an asshole for sure. But like the fact that his government has been engaging in sort of this is like Putin shit, right? This is what.
Yeah, but it's shitty. Like they keep getting caught. Like they've only not been caught once.
Yeah. It's so wild.
But they're
to
doing
me.
it poorly, though. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
they are doing it poorly, but also like, why? These people have no power. Like, they're not going to be able to.
Right. You and Thrash were talking about that. They've been unsuccessful. Like, this has not worked. Their whole Sikh separatist thing is a failure, and you're just doing this for vengeance.
And
like
now?
they are not in your country. This is like you said, Putin shit with Skripal, right? Like with not Gorbachev. Novichok on the doorknob. Why do I remember these words, but I can't remember like the shit that I know and don't know? Fill a book.
Yeah, I don't. It's just it blows. So I keep these in the show every time they come up, just because it blows my mind that
because you hate Indians. I know.
No, it blows my mind that this just flies under the radar, and that Modi's government has been doing this for years at this point.
Yeah,
and even when it gets called out by Trudeau and now the American government, it doesn't seem to move any sort of needle. It among all the things that are happening around the world, this one just seems bizarre to me.
It actually feels very noteworthy, and I thought it was just off my radar. You're saying you haven't seen it anywhere else. You watch your 3 hours of cable news a day. This doesn't come up.
Nobody's talking about this. It's nowhere. So, but to invest as much resources as they have had to do these things, and also be unsuccessful at it, is just so like, why, dude?
Well, and it's interrupting your relationships with foreign countries. Like that. Like that's the part to me. It's like, how is this worth it to you?
Yeah. Yeah, and India, India's an up and comer. They've got the population, and they're trying to level up on.
Wait! I got a Trump clip I've been meaning to play. I just found this today. It's an old clip.
Watch him. He's a comer.
It's an up and comer, Alan.
I mean, they're trying to take their place on the world stage. They have a huge population, and their economy is growing rapidly. And they do shit like this. Like, what the? Why do you do this? I don't understand. Why do you do this?
Why you care?
Why do you care?
Egon, me?
Sure.
Boeing and union leaders reached a tentative deal. Did this happen today? I had just seen. I saw they rejected it.
Yeah.
They voted on Wednesday. As of, all right. Well, why put both of these, Alan? Do you want to read this one? If you know
Sure.
why don't you read this one, jerk?
Boeing and union leaders reached a tentative deal, including a 35% pay raise over 4 years. that 33,000 striking workers would vote on Wednesday, and then Boeing factory workers voted to reject the new labor deal, extending a 6-week strike that has significantly impacted the firm's production and finances.
They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars while they've been on strike.
I don't know. This Boeing thing is crazy, and the fact that the CEO gets to walk away and just like wash his hands of it is crazy as
With
well.
literally a golden parachute that he uses through the missing door plug.
Right. So just to recap, all right, Boeing had stuff like their airplanes, things were falling off, doors blowing out, right? Their space
Heads were falling off.
They had the thing that was supposed to bring the astronauts back from the International Space Station was so unreliable.
Dude, I've had that on the show sheet as a Just Asking Questions for a long time. How come we don't talk about the fact that we have astronaut, like when Chilean miners get stuck in a hole, it's nonstop news for 30 days, right? And we find out every detail about, including that guy that to this day I still know, that was like 15 years ago. To this day I still know that one of the guys had a wife and a girlfriend, and both of them were waiting to fight with him when he came out of that hole. He's like, leave me down there. I'd rather die.
I'll just stay
you
here.
Imagine having a Chilean woman mad at you about that?
Oh,
She's
God.
feisty. Yeah, man, there's some chili peppers up in her crotch.
Stay in that
Like,
cave.
Yeah. So but we leave astronauts in space, and we're not like every day saying, by the way, Boeing left astronauts in space. Like, we should be talking about it every fucking day. That's worse than a hole in the ground.
It's way worse. So that happened, and then now they have this strike, and they haven't been able to figure this out. They've lost, as you said, millions and millions of dollars at this point. It's a fucking disaster, and Boeing used to be, like, Boeing is up, like, by my dad's, like, Washington is, that's their base.
Right. Well, that's where they built it. The engineers, they moved it to Chicago. But
Right.
Yes.
But
the whole thing used to be in like Seattle area.
Yeah.
And
But
then the engineers were like, fuck these nerds that make this shit, or the other way around.
But they were...
No, the management got mad and left. That's what it was.
Okay. But they were a huge industrial power for decades and decades, right? I mean...
But what I just described is the whole conflict here. The management said, fuck these nerds that make the planes. We know how to run a business, and we're going to Chicago. And that created this drift within the company where that drift led to them, to the manufacturers and the engineers saying, nah, 35% ain't enough. You guys don't fucking care about these planes enough. You don't fucking care about us building these right. You need to pay us good enough and do a better job at making these planes. Like, that rift is fucking huge, man. Like, and it's evident in the rejection of the deal. That sounds like a good enough deal, but it's clearly not.
Well, the initial offer was 25%. They bumped it to 35%, and they thought that would do it, and it didn't. But it is a stunning demise of a huge corporation, industrial giant. It's been on.
Boeing makes the B-52. Like, Boeing makes like the Stratofortress. Like,
it's crazy. It's just like watching it implode. It's just like what is happening here?
Well, they can't implode. We need them for our,
we need them not to implode. It's yeah.
Well, only under specific situations should their devices implode. Yeah, I don't like it. A U.S. Geological Survey led study found lithium reserves in Arkansas. You know the whole meme that's like, it's like a cycle. It's like the world needs this. There's going to be a conflict over resource. Some random part of the United States finds the largest supply of it ever. Cycle continues, right? Like, So this is the newest round of that. So the U.S. Geological Survey led study found lithium reserves in Arkansas that would be enough to satisfy the 2030 demand for electric vehicle batteries 9 times over. Exxon is exploring if extraction is commercially available. My understanding is, yes, they recognize that this lithium is there. It's in a state that would require a type of extraction that they're not sure if they can do yet. But this also sounds a lot more viable than the company I invested in that was going to pull lithium off the seafloor. I was supposed to be rich, Alan.
So much of these reserves seem to be like 10,000 feet below the surface. And so typically what they do is they are in seabeds, ancient seabeds. That's where this lithium sort of develops.
Yeah, but it's
right?
under Arkansas. Who cares, right?
And so typically what they do is
They make the Ozarks disappear.
they pump this out and they'll put it in pools and let the water evaporate, and then the lithium is what's left, right?
Yeah.
That's been the old way of doing it. They think that there's a way for them to essentially pull it out without going through that whole process. So it's sort of experimental at this point.
They're going to experiment with pulling out.
Well,
It's the Catholic method.
so they're going to see if they can make it commercially viable. I think the coolest part about this is we could get a reboot of the Beverly Hillbillies, but it would just be Arkansas.
Lithium.
Yeah,
Old
there's
Jed.
gold in them there hills, it would just, but it's lithium. Like,
I'll tell you a story about a man named Jeb.
Yeah,
Jed
yeah.
or Jeb?
I think it's Jed. Yeah, so that would be fun. We could have Beverly Hillbillies, lithium billionaires.
Edition.
Yeah,
Nice,
it'd be fun.
nice.
It'd be fun. All right. Anthropic unveiled a new version of its AI model, Claude.
I hate Claude. Every time I use Claude, I'm like, well, gonna go back to apparently Gemini, which is somehow better than Claude.
I don't like Claude. I don't like any of them. That can perform tasks on a computer by moving the cursor, clicking, and typing. So
Will it do things that are common questions but might have anything to do with politics without being fucking annoying? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. This has to do with Paul. I think I asked him a question about Jimmy Carter. They're like, I can't answer questions about elections. I'm like,
I tried to make ChatGPT make a game for the Friday show with Thrash last week.
Yeah.
And the stuff it spit out was so fucking basic. It was just like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, this is not useful at all.
Yeah.
Anyways, from what I've read about this, it's primarily going to be useful for people who do coding. Like, that's what it's going to be good for.
moving the cursor, clicking, and typing.
Yeah.
That sounds like the way like a 5-year-old would describe using a computer.
It does. It does. And also it fucks up a lot according to their own like press. It's like, yeah, don't rely on it too much. It's not great. I don't know, man. I saw Anthropic, a lot of people at Anthropic have come out as sort of like AI doomers and people that work at Anthropic have been more vocal about this than other AI companies.
Did Anthropic do things before AI? I know them as an AI company.
Yeah, I only know them as AI as well.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. But it's this arms race is very strange. I think Anthropic's CEO has said that he thinks he can get general AI in like the next 5 years, which is crazy.
Oh, don't. That scares me.
I don't think it's possible, but
No, I don't like it.
yeah, it's scary.
That's the one I don't think we're good for. I don't think that's like, this is all fun until we get Gen AI. Like I am full on doomer when it comes to that. Can you sell me on not being afraid?
No, I can't. I was like,
We
I?
will actually be the inferior species at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I've listened to.
Have you learned nothing from hubris?
I've listened to hours and hours of people trying to like sell me on it.
Rationalize it being okay.
Yeah, not being scary, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe it's
The
not
people that know the most say things like, I wouldn't invest in like a long-term future at that point.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
just
I think
every day.
like on the scale of like paperclip maximizer to like the world is a utopia, I don't necessarily think paperclip maximizer is what will come of it, but I don't think it's going to be great either. It's just
Not moving towards utopia.
no, not at all,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah.
All right, you want to hit this next?
Federal judge. We are a Rudy Giuliani themed podcast. A federal judge ordered Rudy, the mayor of 9/11, to turn over real estate and other assets to 2 Georgia election workers who won a $148 million defamation judgment. This is under appeal. It says against him, asking him. So my question for you was going to be, how does this work? Does this mean he just like has to give his keys to someone like in an escrow situation and they just, now it's their apartment?
Yes. Yes. So this is
there like cleaning process first because it's going to smell like gin.
Oh,
and like, do they get like all of his things? Like, do they have a bunch of like 48 by 24 pantsuits? Like, or suit pants is what I meant to say. Like, it's a 48 waist, right? 24 leg. You understand the joke. Okay. Like, how is this useful? Like, are you going to cut these into like swatches and sell them like inside Rudy Giuliani baseball cards? Like, how is this of any value other than like, is there somebody in Georgia that just woke up today and went, holy shit, go wake up my friend. I think it was her daughter, right? Go wake up my daughter. We got an apartment in Manhattan. Is that what happened?
Yes, essentially yes. Although it's still, it hasn't actually been turned over. So this is Ruby Friedman, I think is her name.
Yeah.
She was the poll worker and her daughter who were
Good pull on the name. Yeah.
who were harassed post the 2020 election after Giuliani et al. Were saying, and Sidney Powell, et cetera, were saying that the ballots were the election workers had stolen the election in Georgia. So they sued, and I talked about this in the hidden track. This is such a fun. This story makes me smile. So, among other things that Giuliani has to turn over unless he wins the appeal, are 28 watches, a Manhattan apartment, a Mercedes Benz that he owned that was the prior owner to the Mercedes was Lauren Bacall.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
You say like Adolf Hitler or something.
And his attorneys had said,
What about wait, can we guess on some other things that are inside that room?
Sure.
Just get your free association mind ready. I'll give you a
okay.
starter. Okay, see if you can come up with one. His gold throne that says the mayor of 9/11.
The eyeliner that leaked down his face when he did
His hair dye,
the
yeah.
Four Seasons. Yeah.
A gold-plated Burger King crown. It says King of New York.
His 9/11 pin that he wore on his lapel.
Yeah.
He actually, his lawyers tried to say that some of the stuff that they were supposed to turn over had sentimental value. And
sorry, you shouldn't have harassed election workers, you cunt.
that's what the judge said. The judge was like, "Yeah,
That's why it's a penalty. Sorry, you liked these things.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's what the judge said. Essentially, was like,
did you think a lawyer would think like, Your Honor, he really likes this?
his he said that one of the arguments was like his grandfather gave him this watch. It has sentimental value.
His grandfather stuck this watch up his ass in Vietnam. Yeah.
And the judge was like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You got to pay it."
I'm like, John.
I think this is hilarious and awesome.
That's a great story. I like
love
that you
this
put that
story.
under the headline of fun.
Yes.
This is our fun segment of the show.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you want to move on to weird? I like how Rudy Giuliani is not under weird.
No. All right. An E. coli outbreak linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounders sickened at least 49 people in 10 states and resulted in 1 death per the CDC.
This has to do with a specific product, right?
So here's why I put
Besides the Quarter Pounder, it's a sub. It's a component of the Quarter Pounder.
This is why I put this under weird.
Okay.
It was very bizarre to me that they singled out the Quarter Pounder, like if that product specifically was the only thing that got people sickened. And
well, I thought about this. Okay, Tom, go on.
So in McDonald's statement, they say that they believe it came from slivered onions from a specific source that were used on these Quarter Pounders. So my question is, do they have like a different bin for
onion source for different cuts of onions?
For different burgers? Like, do they put different...
Well, so I don't know how much you like to go to the fine dining.
Are you saying that the slivered onions they put on a cheeseburger are different than the ones
different. You think they're chopping them at McDonald's?
No, but they're not.
So they came there ready to put onto a burger. So they found the most efficient and properly priced source for those onions, and they're not the same as the diced onions they put on their Big Macs and in their
they're different onions.
Yeah. I mean, since they're not chopping it there, right? Yeah. So the ones that came in the already, what's the difference between slivered and sliced? I don't know.
It said slivered in their official statement.
I know, I see that, but I don't. I always had trouble with that. I thought it said silvered, but I know it's not silvered. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so that was what I thought when I heard this. Where they're like the onions on the Quarter Pounders. I was like, are the onions on the Quarter Pounders different? I'm like, well, actually, yes. The onions on the Quarter Pounders are little rings of onions. But the Big
Oh,
Mac,
as
it's
opposed to diced
up
ones.
Yes, yeah. And they source that shit different because there isn't. You think Donald Trump was back there chopping onions? No,
of course
he was
not. They
grabbing
come in
onions out
bags.
of the onions bin, what they grabbed from the freezer and they defrosted or the
Right.
refrigerator truck. Yeah.
It's so weird.
I agree with you. That's wild, but it has everything to do with McDonald's efficiency. Only McDonald's could be like, oh shit, is it it's the slivered onions? Well, that's it's a big. Sorry, is it the quarter pounder? Ooh, that must mean it's the slivered onions. Well, I guess we know what source that is, which is weird, right? Like, In-N-Out, they get their onions and their potatoes and they chop them up back there, and
Right.
their white button-up shirts and.
McDonald's is famous for doing like the potatoes that they use for their French fries are very specific and not actually very eco-friendly. The way they do their like Coke is also
Coke is different, yeah.
is different. The ice is designed to the ice.
Bring some Cokes in, please.
Bring some Cokes in, please. Sorry. Page was open.
All right, should we get into some other news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, this first one, the judge orders Pentagon to release records of Trump controversial Arlington cemetery visit. So we talked
I
about
put this in here because it's I heard about it and I wanted you to read it at me. I just heard about it. I'm eager to hear more.
So we talked about this story when it happened. Obviously, I kind of went a little bit of a rant about this. This was the controversial sort of political.
This touched a chord with our listeners too.
It did, yeah. So this was when Trump went to the ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery and carried the wreath across, and somebody at the cemetery tried to stop him because you're not supposed to make a political event of things at that place. There was an altercation. He did it anyways, and it was a really shitty thing. And to do that on those hallowed grounds was just an awful thing. So now journalists have done
no decency.
Yeah. So there's been a FOIA request. They want the Army to release any information that they have, and they're investigating what happened that day.
A citizens group did a FOIA request.
Yes. Yeah. Citizens.
And a judge agreed with it and ordered the Pentagon to release the records.
Right. So
because if you remember, Trump at the time said, we have video of the whole altercation and it'll completely exonerate our staffer. And you would think if they had exonerating video evidence, it's in their best interest to make that person look bad, right?
You would think that, yeah. So
that's not the moment where they chose to have the moral high ground. Like they would definitely release that footage. And the fact they didn't makes me think there's something more to this. So I'm excited to see what this judge is forcing them to turn over.
So the deadline is October 25th. So
that's the day after. That's tomorrow. That's Friday. That's when you're hearing this.
Okay, is it? Okay, yeah. So we should know more about this soon. That's all we know so far.
Why is now the time you turn into a robot? We should what?
We will know more about this soon. That's all we know so far. Though.
All right, cool. I look forward to talking about this. Hopefully, there's much more of this on the big show.
Yeah. All right. We talked about the Ukraine one.
Yeah.
U.S. study on puberty blockers goes unpublished.
You want to talk about that? An hour and 13 minutes into a show after we did an hour-long hidden track? We can do it. I'm down to do it.
Okay.
I don't know anything about this. This is the New York Times. I couldn't read it. And in fact, the people that sent me this story were all people that I was like, whoa, you subscribe to the New York Times? They're like, no, I saw the headline. I'm like, all right, Paul. All right, Jefferson. All right, Jeffersonian anarchist. I didn't think you subscribed to the New York Times. So what's the real story here? You read the article.
I did read the article. So a study was done over multiple years by this researcher on the effects of these puberty blocking agents on children who experienced
hormone blockers,
dysmorphia.
By the way, what's a hormone?
So didn't feel comfortable with their sexuality. And essentially what the results were was that they didn't. So here's how the researcher puts it, is that the people that were involved in the study, she claims, already came into the study as being in a pretty good place. And so the use of these puberty blockers didn't really move the needle for them, is what she's saying now. However,
so they took that and said that they didn't help them.
Yeah.
Instead of it didn't make a difference.
Yes. However,
Just two ways of saying the same thing.
initially, she had said that 25% of these people were suicidal, and now
And are they
she's
still alive?
so one person in this study committed suicide.
That's well. Was there 4 people in the study?
It was like 100, I think.
Okay, that's
95.
statistically not the same.
Yeah. So she's walked that back and said, no, I think these people were already mostly in a good place. And so the fact that these puberty blockers didn't like move the needle in a positive direction is just because they were already at a good baseline. I think that this study is way too small to even really glean anything from. I understand why people on both sides of this issue or on any side of this issue could take this and try to run with it and create whatever narrative that they want about this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the part of that reason is just this, and I'm fine saying it. I'm in my cups. I don't think that trans people have a mental illness. I do think that it's safe to say that there are people with mental illness that are in the trans community.
There's people with mental illness in every community.
Fair enough. But I'm not shocked that there are people whose mental illness tells them I'm a man, I'm a woman,
Sure.
or whatever, right? So like there has to be some way to like disaggregate that from your data. And if you're not going to do that, you're going to get results like this.
Yeah.
And for the headlines to say, thanks to woke, they didn't publish this, just doesn't feel very genuine to me.
She said they're in really good shape when they come in, and they're in really good shape after 2 years.
And then the headline says, thanks to politics, they didn't publish the study.
Right. The conclusions seem to contradict an earlier description of the group in which the doctor and her colleagues noted that 1/4 of the adolescents were depressed or suicidal before treatment. And she says, I didn't want the work to be weaponized.
Which version of these facts are you supposed to fucking believe?
I don't think
this feels like a mistrial, honestly. Like
it does.
It feels like you need to do this over.
It does. I don't think there's enough
like
here.
You're contradicting your statement at the beginning that is giving us our baseline.
I don't think there's enough here to draw any conclusion one way or the other.
Unless you have a conclusion you want and you would like to.
Unless you're already on one side.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. All right.
Look at us. Look at us. We're in peak form right there.
All right, I'll just hit this one real quick. This is the black hole jets. So they found these. All right, so when black holes happen, when stuff gets sucked into the black hole, it starts to spin around. And goes really fast.
I'm waiting for you to get back on here.
A
You
lot
said
of
they
heat
found
is generated
these.
from
No,
that.
you couldn't
and
hear
most
anything
of the
that I've been saying.
stuff gets sucked.
Alan.
Oh, yes.
The internet
yes, I can hear you now.
Started from the beginning. They found this.
Okay. All right, so the way black holes work, the stuff that gets sucked in, it goes in a spiral, creates a shit ton of
Gravity
heat.
pulls everything in, including light.
Yes, and for the most part, most of it gets sucked into the black hole. However, some of the stuff is going so fast and is so superheated that it goes the other direction.
Well, because of the compression, it causes heat, right?
Right, and so it gets shot out like a jet. And so they've known this for a long time. However, they didn't know how big these jets could be. And they've just discovered one that is the span of 140 Milky Ways in length.
It's 26 light years. Was it 26 light years? Or was it 26 million light years? It was a huge fucking number.
In a galaxy 7.5 billion light years away, a supermassive black hole shoots out streams of magnetized plasma that spanned 140 Milky Ways in length. I don't see how many.
Like, I'm supposed to know how big a Milky Way is.
It's our fucking galaxy. It's massive.
I know that, but I need to use you start with a measurement and then you go back to like a yard, like a thumbnail or a ballpark. Like, give me a fucking measurement. Okay, I'll look up the size of the Milky Way. You keep talking.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the joke. What's his name? He's Roxanne, the fireman in Roxanne. He says, "What's the
100,000 light years across?"
That's crazy. That's
So how many Milky Ways did they say?
140.
All right, I'm gonna have to do fucking math.
Do math. What's the what's a light year? It's the same as a regular year, but with less calories. That was the joke. From the
That's
movie.
so dumb.
It is.
Okay, I have
It was Steve Martin that said it though. He did it better.
14 million as my result of 100,000 times. So is it what did I just measure? Is it 100? Is it 14 million light years? That can't be right. 100,000 light years times, what did you say?
140.
Oh, there's decimals involved. That was easy to round up. That is fucking huge, dude.
It's crazy. And so what they're saying is that this sort of event is
That's how long the jets are.
Yes. So this sort of event would have all kinds of impact on the environment around it. Literally like stars.
Oh, this is old, right? Because we're seeing this
Yeah.
light now. So
Right.
it's billions
So-
of light years old.
So stars that maybe normally would have formed because of what was in this area wouldn't have formed because of these jets. So they're literally going to impact the entire environment of that space around them in ways we maybe don't even understand. I sent you that thing. I know you posted it on our story. It's not in other news, but there is a scientist that is now alleging that dark matter doesn't need to exist.
I thought that was going to be in the show. I showed it to Natasha's dad. He's like, I don't believe this. Einstein constantly gets proven right. Like this, you're going to say Einstein's wrong. Sorry, talk about it to the listeners that weren't in our text message.
So essentially what is alleged in this paper is that the topography of space can account for
Can you say that as the material of space-time?
Yes, can account for what has usually been accounted for by the existence of dark matter. And so you don't
Which,
need.
if we're going to get nerdy about this, is theoretical and we can't prove it. But we're saying if we can't prove it, we have this thing called dark matter.
Right.
And then we have a bunch of theories and studies and lifetimes of dedication to figuring out what dark matter is or how it works.
And when you plug that into
They're
the
saying you don't have to worry about any of that. Gravity can exist without mass, which feels like it negates a lot of the E equals MC square thing.
Well, except that we know that gravity can have impact on particles that are massless. So like gravitational lensing on photons, things like that. So what is alleged in this paper is that you can have a topography in space that is a net zero. However, there could be a +3 and a -3 on one side and the other. And so, yes, it is a net zero. It's not. There's nothing to account for there, like mathematically, but there actually is force there, and that is impacting the environment around it. And so you won't be able to measure it, but it's there. And so that's essentially what
I don't know nothing, but it feels like that sounds like feedback. Like,
yeah, I think it's not a widely accepted concept yet, but I just found it really interesting that somebody even posited that.
Yeah, no, you sent me that. Like, yeah, that blew my mind. Yeah,
it's pretty
okay,
wild.
Cool. I'm really glad you talked about it. I was afraid I forgot about it, and I would have been upset if I remembered it like 2 days later. But
Yeah,
damn
yeah.
it, we're supposed to talk about it on the show. Oh, the other thing with that black hole jets story, the plasma jets, right? Plasma.
Plasma, yeah.
Is they didn't only find that one. They observed like 15% of the observable sky,
Yeah.
and they found like thousands of them. That was just the very biggest one.
That was the biggest
these
one.
things are, yeah. All right.
There was one that was
I just
100 Milky Ways long.
I just want you to open this one
The Trump Steeler one?
and read the headline. Yeah. So read the headline on this that Newsweek decided to publish. Newsweek.
Donald Trump has shared what is likely an AI-generated image on his Truth Social account, showing him as a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do you want to just start that headline again? I'm going to stop you at the word that has my attention.
Sure. Donald Trump has shared what is likely an AI-generated...
So wait, are you trying to tell me that Donald Trump did not play for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Dude, that picture, he's so fucking jacked, too. Like, dude.
They hate his body. So I know it's a Brido joke. I'm going to give Brido full credit. They hate his body so much. They have to put his face onto so many other bodies. Like, dude, every time they do that.
Likely is the correct word to be sus.
It's unbelievable. Great job,
it's-
Newsweek. You want to get into our media diet?
Yeah. I watched Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
The new Beetlejuice.
Hey, look, he's over there.
Hey, how about that? It's good. It's fun. It's especially...
You watched the new Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
We're
Especially-
waiting to watch it. I think this weekend we're gonna watch the first one, followed by that one.
It's fun, man. Especially it's
Good.
spooky season, so it's a good
Yeah,
time.
that's our whole point. Yeah, we got to watch it in October. Yeah,
It's very reminiscent of the original.
in a good way or in a
yeah, in a
pandering
good way.
Good.
It's funny. It's it's a good time, man. I don't have
Is the principal from Ferris Bueller in this? Remember, he was in the first one. He was like one of the buyers or one of the people at the seance. Alan, I know the answer to that. He's not in it because he's a child molester. No, he went on to be, yeah. So I heard that they addressed him not being in the movie in a funny way, but it didn't jump out to you.
No, I didn't notice that.
Okay. You know who else isn't in it?
Who?
Otho. Do you remember Otho? Otho conducted the seance in the first one. You'll know Otho because he dressed exactly the same in Demolition Man. Remember in Demolition Man when Otho was dressed exactly like the character he was?
I do
Just
remember
wears
that.
a muumuu or something, like a male muumuu. Muumuu? No. Is that what that's called? Caftan. Caftan. Male caftan.
Caftan, yes.
Are muumuus and caftans the same thing?
I don't think so. It's
You know-
similar.
It's weird to me that women wear clothes called muumuus and also don't want to be called fat. It's never been. And then they have this store in malls called Dress Barn. Like, come on down to the Dress Barn, you cow. Like, pick out whatever you want to wear. We got muumuus and caftans, anything to cover your folds, udders, and hooves.
Oh God! By the last
Why
members of
more
our female
women?
audience,
I don't know why more women don't watch this show. Speaking of women, I watched a show called Woman of the Hour. It's a good show. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's if you pay for Netflix, this movie is you've already paid for it, so you should enjoy it. I highly recommend it. I will say this: like, I don't want to recommend a movie that maybe isn't your genre.
okay.
It's a murder suspense movie.
I like that.
Starring, yeah, I know, right? So so for all the ladies that are still listening, that like their true crime podcasts, there is a famous true crime story of a guy called the Dating Game Murderer. You ever heard of this? You heard of this, Alan?
I don't think I have.
So he was a contestant on the show, The Dating Game. He verifiably killed 7 people. He had 8 known victims, killed 7 of them. I won't spoil that. Almost spoiled something. But is believed to have killed up to 130.
Holy fuck!
And the movie kind of jumps in timelines between his prior murders and the timeline where he is caught and where he is on the show The Dating Game. I got to say, a lot of credit to the way it's directed to have the timeline thing going the way I just described and have it a well-told story. The director is the main actress, Anna Kendrick. I love me some Anna Kendrick.
I love Anna.
Yeah. I like her a lot more than when she's stacking cups and doing that acapella fucking bullshit. Hated that movie, those movies. But I love me some Anna. I like her more when she's on an airplane with George Clooney. That was my favorite Anna Kendrick.
Oh yeah. Learning to fire
Anna
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Alan. Thank you. Yeah. No, but I love Anna Kendrick. Like, she's a great actress. Turns out to be a good director. The story's well told. It's not my cup of tea style-wise of a show, but once I started watching it, it was riveting, and I wanted to see how it was resolved, and it was really well done. Like, the suspense was good. I have no negative notes on it. Like, there isn't any part of it where I was like, it'd be good if they didn't do this. So you have Netflix. There's a lot of dog shit on Netflix. Next time you're on Netflix and you see Woman of the Hour, be like, you know what? I'm not going to watch a bad movie. I'm going to watch this one.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, really good. And it takes place in 79, 80, 78, 79. So the sets are of the time.
Period.
There was a period. You know what? It's one of these women movies, Alan. It's a period piece. Write that down. We got all the way to the end of the show, and that's when we found it. A period piece. All right. What do you say we end this with a game?
Oh, I love a game. We haven't had a game for a while.
So he is no longer with us, but Michael Crichton had what would have been a birthday earlier this week. I am going to confidently lift this entire concept of a quiz from that college football podcast that I listened to, because I know none of our listeners listen to it. So I was like, you know what?
Neither do I.
These are good. These are good questions. I can have my own fun with it in a different way with Alan, and I don't think our listeners are going to know the answers. So I hope you're not looking. Do not look. The answers are written down. So just scroll back up if you're looking at the sheet.
Okay.
So I have some trivia for you about Michael Crichton. The listeners, Michael Crichton, author of Jurassic Park, creator of the TV show ER and Sphere, Congo, Me Good Gorilla, Congo, me, Alan, Me Good Gorilla.
Yeah. There was the one about the like a pandemic sort of thing too.
The Andromeda
strain. Yes,
that was a good one. Yeah,
I read all of his stuff
we
back in the
named
day.
a few that are, I know. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Terminal Man, that was a good one. Somebody got stabbed with an airbrush in that book. I remember that. Does Michael Crichton have more books adapted to film? So does Michael Crichton have more books adapted? This one's just a throwaway. I have another one about books adapted to film about him. But does Michael Crichton have more books adapted as films or wives?
Oh God, it's got to be books, films, right?
Okay, you're right. Now, I won't tell you the number because that'll give away the next one. He
Okay.
does have a lot of wives, but not as many as books adapted to films.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Does he have more or less books adapted to films than Stephen King? This does not include Stephen King's TV books or
I was
TV.
gonna ask, like this, like the USA shit, that doesn't count, right? Like
That does not count, and
The
it
Langoliers.
does not include the novellas either.
Okay.
Which I would argue the novellas are better movies than the books, but
so I'm comparing his books
Michael
adapted
Crichton's
to
adapted to screen to the
versus
big screen.
Stephen King.
Big screen. I would like. Was Thinner ever a major motion picture? I liked Thinner as a book. I'd like to see a movie with that gypsy. I don't remember seeing that.
I don't either. I gotta say, Stephen King's got to have more.
He does.
Yeah.
But this is again, to quote our friend Stalin. This is a quantity having
Quality.
a quality of
For
its own.
sure.
So Stephen King has 21 movies from his books,
Right.
and Michael Crichton has 14.
Holy shit! I didn't know it was that
I
high.
could only name like 5 if I were to
Yeah.
try. Yeah. Sphere was a good one. Sphere was underrated.
Sphere was good.
Sphere was a better book than a movie. It was a decent book or a decent movie. Okay, this one's a fun one.
Okay.
Who is taller? And we're going to give you 2 mics.
I have never. I have no idea what Michael Crichton
Oh,
looks like.
you should. Can you Google a picture of Michael Crichton standing next to Steven Spielberg?
Yes.
This is like when Gandalf is standing next to the dwarf man. I forget his name, the actor. Or the actual dwarf man. I don't know if the actor is I should know better. James is mad. Are you looking at this picture right now?
Holy shit!
I hope it doesn't show the height in the answer to that. Like
he's like 3 feet taller than him. It's crazy. All right.
So who is taller? Michael Crichton or NBA Hall of Famer Michael Jordan?
Oh.
Now, I showed you a picture with 2 white people in it. Don't let that confuse you,
I think Crichton might be taller than Jordan.
You want the answer?
Yes.
Michael Jordan was 6'6". Oh, is 6'6".
Yeah.
Michael Crichton, 6'9". Say it.
Nice.
Nice, yeah.
Dude, he's fucking... That's crazy.
That's how you get all those wives, right?
I guess, yeah. He checked all the boxes. He was over 6 feet, over 6 figures, and I don't know about his... but probably.
Looking for a job in finance. How's that song go? Anyway. Okay, what movie made more money in 1995? 1995. They both came out about a week apart. Congo, Me Good Gorilla.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh just so much. Me Good Gorilla makes me laugh.
Okay.
Is it Amy? Was that the gorilla's name?
I think yes, Amy
Sounds right. Me
Yeah,
Good Gorilla. I want to call the show Me Good Gorilla, but what did I put? A period piece is pretty good. That's going to be a disgusting show cover. What if I just do Me Good Gorilla? That's not bad, right?
Or you could make it not a disgusting cover. Also,
What? How do you make period piece not disgusting?
You know, like you just show some like black and white photos from 19 something
with a bunch of broads in it.
Sure,
it's got to have women in it, otherwise people won't get the joke. You know. All right. What made more money? 1995's Congo, Me Good Gorilla, or Braveheart, Love Ya, Always Have.
Oh,
I love you, always have. Remember that from Braveheart? I love you, always have.
I think Congo.
So what made more money? Me Good Gorilla or Love You, Always Have?
I think Congo. Me Good Gorilla.
It did. Do you have a reason for that? Do you have some analysis here?
I think that
because Congo was not a good movie.
It was not.
I think this was the follow-up to Jurassic Park, though, in terms of Crichton movies.
I think that
people started reading his books and like.
Yeah, and also I think it was just like, as a younger, like as a kid at that time, I definitely remember watching that movie. And Braveheart, I didn't watch because
it wasn't a blockbuster, right?
Yeah,
and I think Braveheart was long.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Also, was Braveheart rated R, and that was Congo was like PG-13, and so maybe like kids.
Braveheart should have been rated R. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I will say, Congo had a couple things going for it. Braveheart didn't. If Braveheart maybe had more talking gorillas and Tim Curry in it,
fair.
Maybe they made a little bit more money. Well, very good, Alan. You Good Gorilla. You
good
won
gorilla.
this game. Right?
Me Good Gorilla.
Good Gorilla. Yes. Me Good Gorilla. I'm going to end the show with a question for you.
Yes, do tell.
Me and Natasha spent some time at the intertidal zone. There was a very low tide while we were in La Jolla, and we went out very far out onto the reefs. And while we were there, first of all, we went to the spot where me and Natasha got engaged, and some schmuck was there with his golden retriever, and we are like, this is a beautiful dog. He's like, it is a beautiful dog. Get the fuck out of the way. My soon-to-be fiance is about to come down this path.
Oh, shit.
And I looked, and I was like, this is our spot, you son of a bitch. We're probably the first people ever to get engaged there. How dare you?
Yeah, nobody else has ever done that.
No, it was a beautiful engagement. So we stayed out of the way by going out very far on the low tide, and we were just kind of sitting there hanging out. And have you ever noticed these seaman enemies? They like if you're there during a low tide. Am I saying it wrong? You laughed.
Yeah, it's not seaman enemies; it's sea anemones.
Huh? What sea
anemones?
See an enemy?
Yeah.
Like see an enemy? It's seaman enemies.
No, there's no men in enemies.
Seaman enemies.
No.
Oh, I've been saying this wrong my whole life. Oh, all right. Well, that's not the joke, though.
Okay. What's the joke?
The seaman enemies are the buttholes of the intertidal zone.
That's very true.
if you poke them, they tighten up.
They close up.
And then sometimes, when the water goes out and it's settles, they squirt.
They
just like a butthole.
I love America. Y'all let me in this damn house.
Oh, how about that? Come in the name of peace.
LMFAO. So what in the world is this?
Trump's pee-pee.
Why would you say something that stupid?
I come without explanations or solutions.
See you next time.
I'm a very sexy lady.
Cat turd.
I will not suffer this harlot.
How great! An anti-American Marxist!
Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself.
Read the news.
China is asshole!
God bless the United States.
Now this is
podcasting.
Drive safe, dude.
Cheers. That was fun.